Thank you. It's a pretty impressive group listening to you people. I appreciate that, and I just feel like sitting here like I'm a motorcycle rider, but the subculture of motorcycling is my life, and I want to speak to that pretty quickly. The question was, is it on a fatal or successful path? The pathway of subculture fatal. I'm going to read that very literally. And answer the first question first. Yes, one idea in my subculture forms a new subculture for sure. I look at then who is getting in the way of the original idea. And this gets into the world of prototype motorcycles, where we see a prototype come out from a manufacturer, like, wow, that is fantastic. It's super light, super fast. It's got all the best components on it. It's just this wonderful thing. And by the time it comes into production, it is oftentimes watered down to the disappointment of enthusiast motorcyclists. That subculture is always excited about a prototype, and it gets watered down. It gets watered down due to weight gain, due to government mandates. Some of the technology is heavy. But in that particular form of one idea, smaller groups or smaller companies can stay true to the prototype. They can take the prototype and push it through to production and stay true to it. Ducati is a very good example. Bimota was a very good example, is a very good example. Or if the company is not small, but it has a passionate leader, the passionate leader can push through one idea and push it all the way through. And I think that's probably more at the base of most subcultures that you are speaking of, away from my subculture of motorcycling. And it's one passionate leader can push things through. And on the panel yesterday, it was spoken of when that passionate leader dies or gets too old for the passion, that the subculture can fade. But in motorcycling, we have to look at where does the original idea go, who looks at it, and who's behind it. For those of us who are in charge, if you're a boss of a group like I am, the review of this original idea, the original thought that it could form a subculture, the review of that idea is only useful if your review board is not stupid. And if you gather those around you who are not just intelligent, but enthusiastic, passionate, understanding, open-minded, humble, you can take an original idea and in a very short time tweak the original idea to be something very, very good. So in my world of motorcycling, riding, and instruction, that the original idea is very rarely the one that is the best, because I have a group around me at the Champions School that is just unbelievably good. I can throw out an idea and they can humbly and collectively and positively make it better. And I'm not sure how that goes with other subcultures, but boy, it's a big thing to us. The pathway, fatal and successful. I think that the parents of kids who have died on motorcycles thinks that this subculture is fatal. I think it's fair to say that in America, motorcycling is seen as fatal by the majority, if it were to vote between fatal and successful. A fatally based subculture. And I'm reading it very literally. Why is motorcycling a fatal subculture? A couple reasons. Alcohol is involved in almost 50% of crashes. So people drink a little bit, even one beer gets you to make bad decisions. You decide, boy, maybe I should wheelie with my partner on the back through this intersection, and car pulls out and your front wheel's off the ground and you die. So alcohol is a huge thing, and you can't even have one beer. It not only, you're not drunk yet, but your judgment is very bad. The second reason that I've been given for the fatality of motorcycling is poor judgment. And this came from a conversation I had. Champions School is one of the leading providers of Marine Corps training. We'd go to the Marines and train them. They hired us. They came and found us. And I asked one of the other trainers from another group, I said, hey, why are Marines dying on motorcycles? And this gentleman said, oh, they have poor judgment. And I turned away from that statement and walked away. And I thought to myself, these Marines who are hired to fix helicopters, to fly helicopters and jets, they're hired to lead raids, they're hired to load missiles on helicopters and airplanes, have poor judgment. And I think that's completely wrong. Poor judgment their poor judgment was based on poor riding techniques that they'd given. So that bothered me. And then you'll hear it's a fatal sport because of speed. And that is obviously wrong. The fastest riders in the world go inherently, the champions go fastest, but they crash the least. So the speed confusion with safety is really a problem that we work on. We tell people it's not the speed, it's your ability to control the speed that gives you safety. And that is, of course, brakes and steering. But the success of my subculture obviously outweighs the fatal possibilities. And that's obvious because those of us who still ride a motorcycle, some of us have crashed. Some of us have been around riders who have crashed and died. So we still do it. And why do we do that? Well, the thrills are tough to beat. There's very few cars made in the world that can run with the top level motorcycles. There are a couple, and there are a couple cars that are faster, but very, very few. And they're hundreds of thousands of dollars. The machinery that we get to be around, the motorcycles, are artwork. It's jewelry. It's beautiful parts. The bikes are generally accessible to amateur mechanics, so we can take them apart, pull the wheels off, put our hands on them. That is a satisfying part of our subculture. There's a challenge of controlling what could be an extremely fast motorcycle. There's a challenge of improving your skills to match the bike's perfection. The motorcycles these days are so incredibly good, and we need to bring our skills up to do that. That is a constant challenge. And then the challenge of making your way through traffic around poorly trained American drivers. That's a wonderful challenge. And then on the racetrack, which many of us do, we have a lot of track days in America where you can show up at a racetrack and pay $250 to $400 and lap the track all day long, very safe, very socially enjoyable. On the track, there's a challenge of speed, there's a challenge of competition. And then finally, in competition, in racing situations, there's this unbelievable high that you have after your first top 10 finish, and then you get in the top 5, another incredible high. Then you're on the podium, top 3, and then your first win. And those memories of those achievements will keep you warm all your life. And you'll have a trophy on your shelf and your racing leathers, and you'll look at them when you're very old and have a warm feeling because of the challenge that you did. So to finish up, it's my provable theory that my subculture can be tilted towards success, which means safety and growth. Keeping the members safe and growing the industry, it can be tilted towards success and away from fatality by improving the software of the motorcycle rider combination. That's the rider, improving the rider. The hardware is fantastic. It is unbelievable what it does. It's so much better than we are. It's insane. So we can improve the software to grow our subculture. Because here's one of the single threads that runs through motorcycling. One of the single threads might be that they're on 2 wheels, even though three-wheelers we look at three-wheelers as well, but they're on 2 wheels. That's a single thread. And the other single thread of motorcycling is risk. And even those using bikes as tools, taxis in Asia, families commuting on them in Malaysia, even though they're tools, there still is risk. Motorcycles are becoming safer and safer. We continue to hurt ourselves and die on them. Why? The bikes are safer, and it's because the subculture of rider training has stagnated here in America. If we can improve the software, the subculture of rider training, motorcycling subculture will grow again. Thank you.